Over the years, our kids have had a lot of illnesses. 6 kids means a lot of childhood sniffles and coughs. And when our kids weren't feeling well, it affected our entire home. Luckily, some clever guys in Brisbane have come up with the perfect solution: Rehydrate.
Rehydrate are delicious drinks that rehydrate up to 3 times faster than water alone, packed with essential electrolytes. Rehydrate is one of the few rehydration products that is safe for all ages. Stock up at Coles and be prepared whenever illness strikes.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
It's really about, yes, it's been a long year, but what can you do to make it fun? What can you do to be present and involved and immersed in the moment?
It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Hello, this is Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm here with my wife and co-host, Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie. I'm the author of 6 books about raising happy families, and the kids are upstairs right now and they're not happy. But we've made this commitment to do a podcast, Kylie. What have we done?
They say the show must go on, so the show is going on.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if the house is going to be okay when we finish this.
Don't worry about the children. Just make sure the house is intact at the other end.
The kids will be okay, but it's what they're going to do to each other and to the house. So let's. It's funny that this is happening as well while we're trying to record this. I'm sure they're fine. We've just gone and put the fires out. We've gone and dealt with the issues. We've got one. You know what it's like when one.
I think there's a few embers still simmering though.
Yeah, but one kid tries to be the parent, and the other kids hate it when the big kid tries to be the parent, and they start fighting. And anyway, that's what we're dealing with in our house today as we dive into this podcast. Let's talk about some good news. We asked a few days ago if you could, for Christmas, give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And Chris3890 did that. Thank you so much, Chris. Titled the review Easy Listening and said, the best thing about this podcast is that the information's easy to digest. I don't know if that's a clever way of saying they're not very smart. It's not very complicated. But anyway, we give easy to digest information. We thank you for that, Chris. Also said that the hosts seem real. I can pinch you. Look, there you are, 100%. And we share expert information with practical examples. As a school teacher and parent, I'm lapping up the content. We so appreciate that 5-star rating and review, Chris. Thank you for doing that. Now, we've also had some feedback, and that's what the topic of our podcast is today, based on this feedback from Brooke, who I just realised has said that don't roll your eyes at me. Brooke just realised. I just realised Brooke said, "Please call me Jane or Jane Doe if you need a name for public consumption." So I'm very sorry, Brooke. Jane, Brooke.
Doe.
There's lots of Brookes in the world, so we're just going to go with Jane, and we'll call Brooke Jane, and everything will be fine.
And maybe you might just want to censor what you're reading from here on out.
I should. Let me make sure I'm reading the right thing here. So basically what Jane has said is that it's been a really tough year with COVID. Jane loves listening to the short podcast with you, Mrs. Happy Families. But because That's because I read things first, and I will tell you that her name's Jane. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Jane has also said that being in a Melbourne lockdown I
said censor.
Well, this is the context. There's got to be a lot of Brooks.
She could have been in, I don't know, Mullumbimby?
No, because Mullumbimby didn't have the lockdown like Melbourne had. There's context here. So anyway, Brooke Jane said in Melbourne, who may be from Mullumbimby, said, gee, we've spent a lot of time talking about what she was going to say before we even got there. How do I not lose my mind this summer? I've already spent more time with my kids than I imagined possible. And now I've got to spend the next 6 weeks while they're on school holidays getting them through the summer. So podcast for the time poor parent who just wants answers now. Let's answer this question for Jane.
This year has been one of the most difficult years for parents to navigate. And for a lot of parents who have been in lockdown once, sometimes twice.
Yeah, and especially if you're in Victoria with that crazy lockdown.
Very, very lengthy time frames. Juggling work from home, school from home, and then all of a sudden being told, yay, it's school holidays. And now we've got 6 together. And sometimes 8 weeks, depending on what school you go to, of time, together. Some parents were really pulling their head out. So I think that we've got some really good solutions.
Yeah, okay. So let's dive into my first one, which is just planning. I've been rolling my eyes lately because we spend so much time planning. And it occurred to me, we talk about planning all the time and living with intention on the podcast. And it's only since we've been talking about it so explicitly that I've realized we spend a lot of time just sitting down together and saying, all right, we need to plan. We need to plan our list. We need to plan our weekend. We need to plan our Super Saturday. We need to plan our week. We need to plan our holidays. There's so much planning that goes on if you really want your family to function well.
And the reality is we're proof that when those planning sessions don't happen, that family life is just hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
I think that it is. So that would be my number one for Jane. Sit down with the kids and plan it out. And this is especially important if you're maybe working through the holidays as well, because a lot of parents don't get to just say, all right, kids, we're going to take 6 weeks off while you have 6 weeks off. Not too many employers will give you that sort of time. So it really is about sitting down on the weekend and saying, let's get serious about understanding what our goals are for the break and how we're going to intentionally live so that we can get through this and make it fun.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that in part of that planning process that you include the children in the expectation. So if mum and dad are working from home, it's really important that the kids understand that, mum and dad are going to work for an hour session and then they'll stop for a 15-minute break or whatever, so the kids can actually see how their day is going to roll and what they can expect from mum and dad.
Yeah, like we've just done with our children again. Because how's that working? So, I mean, like in theory, this is exactly right. Kids, one of your parents is going to be at work all week this week. You're stuck with me. Or we're both at work. You've got outside school hours care, but we're going to make our evenings and mornings awesome. That's the theory, and you sit down and you plan it. The reality is sometimes it's just a mess. And when that happens, you fall back on the plan as best you can and remind the kids of why we're doing all of this.
Let's talk about my favourite tip after the break.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Are screens creating tension at home? Tweens, Teens and Screens is a webinar to guide families to healthy, safe super screen solutions. Buy it today at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast with a time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And we have been talking about how to survive these Christmas holidays after the year that has been COVID-19.
You've probably spent a lot more time with the children this year than you normally do, whether you've been on a COVID lockdown or just because of what the year has brought. So we've highlighted that if you're going to get through it, one of the most critical things to do is actually sit down and plan. And we've talked in previous podcasts about how important it is to just have one activity a day. And it might only be a couple of hours, but just have one activity a day where you're intentional, you're having good quality time together, and then you can pretty much give yourself permission to relax a bit and have some me time on top of the really great quality me time that you're having.
Well, one of the things that I have really struggled with this year is just how intense everything has been, and Christmas just felt like another thing to add to the list.
Yeah.
And so
especially since we can't go away on a holiday and just relax over Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, the borders are opening up and there's options, but we've decided not to because they might close, at any minute.
I don't want to be stranded somewhere else.
Right.
And so I decided that I needed to do something about Christmas this year. And, it's been a tricky year, and I just wanted to create some excitement around it. But I also recognize that I'm not at my best at the moment either after the year that we've had. So it needed to be something that was achievable. So I just felt like I just needed to change things up a bit. And I think that has been the secret to the start of Christmas season for us. We've just done a few things that are a little bit different that have just added an element of excitement.
What have we done?
I can't believe you're asking me that.
Well, I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess that you're going to say we're watching a Christmas movie every night.
We are.
And that's working a real treat. Like I've got to be honest, I don't love sitting down and watching movies, but it's helping us to relax because we don't have to be stressing out all the time. It's like, okay, tonight we're just going to watch that movie. And so long as we turn it on and it's not too late, everything's been fine. It's been really, really nice.
Yeah, and on the weekend, we've been able to watch it in the middle of the day when it's really, really hot, which has been a nice reprieve as well. So I've really loved that, and I've loved that it actually hasn't required anything of us, but the kids are, begging us from the moment they've got time out to do something. When are we going to watch our Christmas movie?
Let's watch our movie. What else have we done that's changed things up? Oh, by the way, I like that one because it does work, right? It's something to look forward to, but it doesn't require much effort.
Yeah.
It's a big win there. What else have we changed up? Maybe we've changed stuff up and I'm just not even aware of it.
So I've involved with the kids in quite a few different, just small activities, things that I would normally do without their input this year. So they love doing Christmas handouts for their friends. So we made that an activity this year. They actually got involved in, kind of curling the ribbon and cutting out their little cards and gluing them together. And little Emily, she's 6, and she decided that she was going to handwrite all of her classmates a card. This is something she's never actually attempted to do before. And what I loved about it was she was so intentional. It was just this little gift card sized card, but she decided that she would draw a picture for each of her friends, and every single child, she had to do 20 of these. It took her a few days, but she had to do 20 of them. And every person, she said, I wonder what Brooke would like. And she would say it out loud, and she'd sit there for a few minutes kind of tapping her pen, and then she'd be like, oh, I know. She loves trains. And so she would draw a train. So each child in her class got this hand-drawn picture that was completely individualized to them and the things that she thought they loved. I just loved it.
Yeah, and she was so absorbed in that. So the third idea, and we'll make this one quick and wrap it up, I think this is going to be maybe a super helpful idea as well, and that is it's really about mindset. So for Jane, Brooke, whoever you are, it's really about, yes, it's been a long year, but what can you do to make it fun? What can you do to be present and involved and immersed in the moment? If we can get our mindset right, whether that means we walk outside and we literally put that great big smile on our face, or maybe we do the Batman thing that I've talked about in my Facebook page and my LinkedIn page and on my blog and all that sort of stuff, where we channel somebody else and we kind of put on an alter ego until we find the funnest person that we know and we pretend to be them. And you fake it till you make it kind of thing. If we can just get our mindset on song and create that fun, engaged, involved, intentional mindset, I think that's probably going to be the key thing, right? Because when you've got that mindset, you're much more willing to dive in and do the intentional planning stuff. And when you've got that mindset, you're much more likely to sit down with the kids and find ways to change it up and go to the extra effort. The one thing that I believe is that it is always worth the effort, even when the kids are being challenging, even when the kids are not being grateful. I still reckon it's worth the effort.
Well, hopefully, Jane, you have found these tips to be helpful, and that summer will actually prove to be one that you can actually enjoy with your children.
And I'm so sorry for not reading the email and getting the name wrong. Sorry, Jane.
Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about some more Christmas conundrums, because we've had a lot of response to last week's podcast and we thought that this would be another fun one. So if you haven't heard last week's, definitely go back and check it out, and we look forward to spending some time with you tomorrow and discussing some more of those tricky questions for Christmas.
Yeah, if you've got any Christmas conundrums, send us an email, podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media, and our executive producer is Craig Bruce. If you'd like more information about how to help your family to flourish, especially if you'd like to get that ongoing monthly support that we offer through our Happy Families memberships, you can get all the information you need at happyfamilies.com.au.